would give the bike a bit of a run this time and not say anything. I was hoping that I would get clear traffic and that I'd get a chance to open the bike up and let you hear it in its full glory. But of course, Sunday tea time traffic, there wasn't really any hope of that, I think. And the weather's been so crappy lately. There's been so much rain. It's almost impossible to get a dry day. Anyway, I just wanted to put some thoughts down about this bike. I've had it now, is it a week or 2 weeks? I'm not sure. And I just wanted to sort of bring across how I feel about it, how I feel about having a bike like this back in my garage. And I guess it's kind of like, you know, in the days when you used to go and buy your albums and your singles and you'd put them on your record player, and it, you know, for most of us it wasn't a perfect sound. It would crackle and pop and skip, but there was something about it, sort of the way it delivered the sound. It was something about the sort of dynamics of it were completely different from the digital age. And I guess that's exactly the same when I look at this motorbike. Unless you're my age or older, you might not understand what I'm really talking about. But this bike was before, you know, you had things like traction control and engine modes and ABS braking and all those sort of things that are great safety features, but they did help to sort of control the bike a bit. Whether this is really like, you know, you've got control, your right hand is the traction control, your operation of the brakes is your ABS, and it's just a sort of really sort of analog experience that you forget how enjoyable it is. And even the sound, you know, with all the sort of emissions things going on nowadays, it's hard to get a bike to sound really fantastic in the way that this bike does. An inline 4 is a really a magical bike, especially a carburetted inline 4. There's just something really special about it, and this bike just brings out all the sort of hairs on the back of your neck. And I had hoped that today I'd get a chance to open up and really let you hear it and really let you see it go, but there wasn't much chance of that, I think, with it being Sunday tea time. But I just wanted to kind of, you know, it is absolutely superb. You know, it really is in great condition, really has been treasured and looked after. And the colour is a colour that I was never really 100% sure about when I saw it. But I've got to say that as I've come to see it in the flesh, it actually does it real justice. It really does look like a proper bit of machinery. You know, when this bike came along, it was the bee's knees. There was nothing like it. There had been nothing like it. I mean, okay, there had been things like the Chibi Z900, which was a step towards this. And then of course the ZX10R came along. And they were all sort of bikes that were leading up to sort of this being the eventual really sort of Kawasaki honing it to perfection. And if you think back to, you know, what super bikes were, and here's a few examples. So, you know, these were the bikes of my childhood and my teenage years and my early biking years. These were super bikes, you know. And then, of course, things like CBR 600s came along, the fairings came along, the aerodynamics, all that kind of stuff, the Chibi Z900. But this was really the sort of hyper bike, the really first real hyper bike that really changed the game. And did it in a way that was just absolutely tremendous. 1989, 1990, I think this bike first dropped on the planet. And it just really changed the game for 6 years. You know, there's nobody was able to touch it. You know, prior to this, you had the Vincent Black Shadow. That was a fastest production water bike. And then I think the ZX10R probably stole its title, or the ZX10. Then of course this came along. Old bikes, you know, they do require a bit of love and a bit of care, and parts can be difficult to get, and there's things that will trip you up here and there. But you know what, the actual experience of owning one of these bikes for really what is a deposit on today's motorbikes, you know, if you were going away and putting 2.5, 3 grand on a brand new motorbike, it would buy you this, and you know, you can get them for less than that, you know, but you're buying a hell of a lot of motorcycle, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful slice of the past, and I can't sort of go on enough about how great it feels, and how nice it is to be on something like this. It really is just a game changer. I've got to the stage in my life where I'm trying to sort of put the bikes in my garage that I've either admired or I've loved or I would like to get back, and I'm kind of working towards that. And this is one bike that this is my 5th one, and the reason that I've been through 5 of them, well, it's a bit of a long story really, but the last one I had, I really didn't want to sell it, and things just worked out that I kind of did, or my guilt made me sell it, because I'd bought something else. But this time, this one is going to stay, and as I said to you, it's got a lot of memories for me because of my brother Sandy, and it was a bit of a nutter on one of these, and I remember being on the back one day and he pulled away at a roundabout and he forgot I was on the back because I was a good pillion, and he used to tell me I was a great pillion, and he actually forgot I was on the bike and he pulled away really fast, and my legs went up in the air and kicked his hands off the handlebars. Luckily we survived it, but it was one of the many experiences that we had. And Sandy loved these bikes, and he still loves them, and he's still got one, and you know, he had them right from the very start in 1990 or whatever, and he's stuck with them all that time. And he, you know, I've got some videos of Sandy that I'm going to put up eventually, of him really enjoying his bike back in the day, but it's got a lot of memories for me, and it's just great to have one in my garage again. This is well, we're just approaching Aberdour, and I don't know if you can see over there, but there's the Fourth Rail Bridge, the road bridge, and your new Queen's Ferry Bridge, and just a bit sticking out there, that's Dalgety Bay. That's where I'm heading back to, that's where I live. Inchkeith Island out there, and then you go along the Forth, and of course you get out towards Kirkcaldy. Sorry, that's not Inchkeith, that's Inchcombe. That's Inchkeith over there. Got my bearings wrong there. And across over there is Edinburgh. You can just see the castle to that side. You won't see it on the camera obviously, but then you've obviously got Arthur's Seat, the hill there, and the Pentlands over there. So that's the wee bit I've slotted in just to give you a little bit of a view of the coastline where I live. It's just been that kind of weekend where it's just always threatened to rain, and it has. It's come down in sort of patterns, and you know, we get a little bit of a shower, and the roads are quite wet now. They're not wet, but some areas are a bit damp under the trees and so forth. And I was trying to think of another modern aid that helps people, and it's a slipper clutch, isn't it? That's what I couldn't get in my head, the back wheel locking up. That avoids that, and that's something that you've got to watch on a big bike like this, because you don't have that to help you out. I mean, I don't want to paint the wrong picture and pretend that aids aren't useful, that all these things don't make motorcycling safer. They do, and I think that if an aid can stop you scrapping your bike and running it down the road, then I can't possibly be against it, you know. But it's just that it wasn't always like that, you know. It used to be your bike was your bike, you were in charge of it, and if you had a really powerful bike, then you had to really watch what you were doing. You had to answer to anything that went wrong. And there was a lot more involvement in the bike then, because it did require a higher skill level, which you just naturally developed, you know. But listen to that sound. I mean, does that not just sound beautiful? And I know what you're thinking. You'll be thinking, you know, Paul, when you did the first bit of video and you didn't speak, that was a lot better. And you know what, it is, isn't it? It's just nicer to hear the bike and not have somebody with her on. But it's my video, so I'm going to with her on for the end of it, because obviously I must be feeling like it. This is Aberdour now. That's the gate, or the part that I often run to from Dalgety Bay. Just a little spit of rain in the air. I've still got to AC50 this bike, ACF50, so I'm going to do that this week in the garage. If I get a nice evening, I will give it a wash and let it dry, and then I'll give it a good going over with AC50. I just can't stop loving the sound of this bike, you know. An inline 4 is a magical thing, and a brute like this is really something special. And Kawasaki just have a way of making their bikes sound fantastic when they're inline 4s. There's just something about a Kawasaki inline 4 that's really special. I've had no luck, I've just been stuck behind one thing and another. The thing that, one of the things that I take for granted is my height and my inside leg, because I sit on this bike and feel very comfortable. And this and the VFR 1200F are the two bikes I always felt the best on. I always felt they just suited my body down to a T. And my brother's the same. My brother was always the same. He always found this bike mega comfortable, and it just suited his big frame as well. Come on, bossy. It's very hard to demonstrate this bike without breaking speed limits, so as I've said in previous videos, I'm very conscious of not getting into any more trouble. I'm going to get this in just in time. There's just a wee spit in the air, it's not too bad, and I'll get the bike washed tomorrow, or tomorrow night if it's dry, and then I'll let it dry off. One of the best investments I made was I got myself an air dryer, a hot air blower to dry the bikes off, because it makes a huge difference, really. And that makes a huge difference. And then I'll get the bike all suited up with the CF50, and I'm just going to enjoy it for the summer. I'm not going to do, we're into July now, almost end of July, but I'm certainly going to enjoy it for the next couple of months. I'm not going to do anything to it, just enjoy it. Get a chance to really get a good feel for how I think it's running. I think it's running great. I think it's running really well. No problems with it. It's a beautiful bike. Really pleased with it. Anyway, I'm going to sign off. Good night. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye for now. my age or older, you might not understand what I'm really talking about. But this bike was before, you know, you had things like traction control and engine modes and ABS braking and great safety features, but they did help to sort of control the bike a bit. Well, this is really like, you know, your right hand is the traction control, your operation of the brakes is your ABS, and it's just a sort of really sort of analog experience that you forget how enjoyable it is. And even the sound, you know, with all the sort of emissions things going on nowadays, it's hard to get a bike to sound really fantastic in the way that this bike does. It's just something really special about it. And this bike just brings out all the sort of hairs on the back of your neck. And I had hoped that today I'd get a chance to open up and really let you hear it, really let you see it go, but there wasn't much chance of that, I think, with it being Sunday tea time. But I just wanted to kind of, you know, say how I felt about the bike. It's just a joy to have back in the garage. It's only done 21,500 miles, and looking at the condition of the bike, it is absolutely superb. You know, it really is in great condition. Really has been treasured and looked after. And the colour is a colour that I was never really 100% sure about when I saw it, but I've got to say that as I've come to see it in the flesh, it actually does it real justice. It really does look like a proper bit of machinery. You know, when this bike came along, it was the bee's knees. There was nothing like it. There had been nothing like it. I mean, okay, there had been things like the Chibi Z900, which was a step towards this. And then of course the ZX10R came leading up to sort of this being the eventual really sort of Kawasaki honing it to perfection. And if you think back to, you know, what super bikes were, and here's a few examples. So, you know, these were the bikes of my childhood and my teenage years and my early biking. These are super bikes, you know? And then of course things like CBR 600s came along, the fairings came along, the aerodynamics, all that kind of stuff, the Chibi Z900. But this was really the sort of hyper bike, the really first real hyper bike that really changed the game, and did it in a way that was just absolutely tremendous. 1989, 1990, I think this bike first dropped on the planet, and it just really changed the game for 6 years. You know, there's nobody was able to touch it. You know, prior to this, you had the Vincent Black Shadow. That was it, fastest. And then I think the ZX10R probably stole its title. The ZX10, the analogy of it. But then, of course, this came along. Old bikes, you know, they do require a bit of love and a bit of care. Parts can be difficult to get, and there's things that will trip you up here and there, but you know what, the actual experience of owning one of these bikes, a deposit on today's motorbikes, you know, people going away and put £2,500, £3 grand on a brand new motorbike. Beautiful slice of the past, and I can't sort of go on enough about how great it feels, how nice it is to be on something like this.